Good afternoon, I'm Raylene Ramsey. This is your afternoon news fix for Thursday, the 28th of November. A report on New Zealand's COVID response says the government made hard decisions quickly, but didn't properly address shortcomings that emerged. Phase 1 of the Royal Commission inquiry has been delivered to Internal Affairs Minister Brooke van Velden. Senior political reporter Sophie Trigger has more.
It states the government's messaging was initially effective but became more challenging as objectives shifted, saying the transition away from an elimination strategy wasn't well signalled or communicated. Some of the 13,000 submissions suggested the government do more to stop misinformation spreading and that future pandemic restrictions should be targeted towards those most at risk.
Former COVID response minister and Labour leader Chris Hipkins says he'd like to think his government acknowledged the strain on New Zealanders.
There's nothing that can happen now that will compensate for those who were not there when somebody passed away, were unable to be there for the birth of a child.
Te Pāti Māori co-leader Rawiri Waititi is demanding police withdraw from Matapihi in the Bay of Plenty. Large numbers of officers are monitoring a prominent mongrel mob member's funeral. But Waititi says police are distressing residents, including Kaumātua and Kuia, and blocking private property in the cemetery. He says the police minister should tell them to pull back. The Treasury says land plays a much bigger part in the housing market than previously assumed. A report's found land availability in Auckland still restricted by environmental and regulatory reasons. It found such restrictions drive up the cost of urban land by about $400 a square metre. Treasury's Dominic Stevens says it contrasts with earlier thinking, emphasising population and housing numbers.
Understanding that changes the types of policies that you might implement in order to get the New Zealand housing market functioning in a more efficient manner.
The Reserve Bank is watching out for ripples from a Trump administration. The US President-elect campaigned on slapping widely taxing imports. Post-election, he's announced he'll tax goods from Canada and Mexico 25% and slap another 10% on China. Reserve Bank Assistant Governor Karen Silk says uncertainty over his moves could impact inflation and economic growth.
Where tariffs are introduced, those selling into economies imposing tariffs may well seek substitute markets, and so we could see effective dumping of goods.
Met Service is forecasting cooler temperatures to start the weekend after unseasonal highs today. Blenheim and Christchurch have both clocked a sizzling 31 degrees. Timaru reached 29. But a southerly change this afternoon will bring rain and wind to the South Island. Met Services' Lewis Ferris says temperatures will struggle to reach the late teens this weekend.
So here we are towards the end of Thursday. We see that cold front has moved northwards. Cool southwesterlies in behind that.
To sport. Brad Moore insists he hasn't entertained the prospect of becoming the next Crusaders head coach. The Cantabrian is back for a second stint as an assistant after recent roles with Argentina and Scotland. Liverpool have maintained their perfect start to this season's Champions League with a 2-0 win over Real Madrid. And after 134 attempts, golfer Bryson DeChambeau has finally hit a hole-in-one over his Texas mansion. The two-time major winner's finally found success on the 14th shot on day 16 of his challenge. And I'm Raylene Ramsey. That is your latest news fix, and we'll have another one for you tomorrow morning from the Newstalk ZB newsroom.